Hey guys, thanks so much for watching and welcome to my Q&A session. I'm getting the questions from people who have submitted questions via email through my email that I created for this. It's share@pippenings.com. So if you want to send in questions, please do so and I might read them on air. So this email today comes from Helena and she says, "Hi Pippi. After watching one of your videos on YouTube yesterday, I realized I had a couple questions to ask about your fifth wheel. Wasn't sure how I could connect with you. And here you are, because I had just created the email. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. I'm a single female with 28-foot Class C RV. I'm interested in possibly upgrading to a larger RV. I often wondered, how long is your RV? You make it look so easy to drive. Did you find it difficult to transition from your Class A to your beautiful fifth wheel? Can you offer any advice for a fifth wheel newbie about learning to drive this type of vehicle? Do you feel confident backing into RV spaces? Is it possible to steer clear from purchasing a dually truck and still tow a fifth wheel?" Lots of questions, really great questions. So let's start with the first one. My fifth wheel is 35 feet plus the truck. So maybe that's about 45 feet. And my Class A that I had was 34 feet with the tow dolly on the back, which was about 12 feet. And let's see. So she says, did you find it difficult to transition from Class A to your beautiful fifth wheel? Aside from emotionally letting my Class A go, I loved switching to a fifth wheel. Now, I suspect you're asking mostly in regards to the driving, transitioning from driving a Class A with a tow dolly to a fifth wheel. I found it harder. However, it's not hard. You can't learn just like I did. With a Class A, no matter the length, I had a 34 feet with the tow dolly on the back. When you take turns, turning different directions, your back wheels and the tow dolly wheels track where you turn. So if you make a turn, that car tracking behind you is going to kind of go in that same path that your front wheels did or that the RV did. So that's kind of easy. Now, with the fifth wheel, it does not track. In fact, if this is the truck and this is the fifth wheel and you're turning, the truck will turn here and the fifth wheel swings over here. So whereas if this was the Class A and this was the tow dolly, the Class A went here and the tow dolly went like that. So when I had to, learn and try to wrap my head around how to drive it, I realized that what I was driving up front was to really compensate for the back. So I was driving not just for the front of my vehicle, front of the whole rig, but I was also driving separate-mindedly for the back of the vehicle. So that took some time. And basically now if I'm making a corner, I go as far forward and keep, really go as wide around as I possibly can. And if you need to visually see that, you can look in your back mirrors and look whichever side you can see, look to see your wheels of your fifth wheel. If the wheels have come to the point of the corner, then you can turn because it'll pull it around it. If your wheels have not passed the corner yet, you're going to hit the curb. When I first got my fifth wheel, I hit 3 curbs 3 times, and it's not a good feeling because, when that wheel goes down, the whole fifth wheel shakes. Now, you don't necessarily feel it when you're driving, but everything in your house has just fallen 8 inches and pretty severely and abruptly. So it's never a good thing to do that. When I test drove my dually alone, obviously, with no trailer, that's what I mean, alone, I did fine on the test drive, but then coming back back into the car dealership, I actually went over a curb. So that took I didn't do it ever again after that, because even that, you learn to make your corners much bigger, and you're always keeping an eye on how wide you are in the back. So she next asks, do you feel confident backing into RV spaces? When I got my fifth wheel, I did not at all. It was very, very frustrating. And after practice, which all it takes is practice, after enough practice and having to do it, I did. And I got to the point where I would come into a campground, and usually people would see that I'm driving alone, or sometimes I'd get out of my vehicle, I'd run to the back, check everything, and, it kind of gets people's attention. And so then, people would come over and help me. And that got to be kind of frustrating, because really, it's not frustrating if they're just spotting. But people, when they help, they kind of want to tell you, go this way, turn your wheel this way, now go back this way, go forward. And it's like, I could do that. I just needed somebody to say, hey, you're about to hit something. And most people do more than that. Their intention is good, but it can be frustrating, especially when you decide to just ignore them and do it your own way. So I found that after getting comfortable enough, I needed to only listen to myself, because I was the one at the wheel. I knew how far the wheel was turned. I knew how far I was planning to go back before I went forward, and I didn't need anybody else chiming in on that. But to have somebody ground spot you so you're not hitting a branch, that's really convenient. So after practice, you probably won't be comfortable immediately, but after practicing, you will. And even if you don't practice, I didn't actually ever practice, go to a parking lot, which probably would have helped. I didn't do that. I got my practice because I was traveling and I learned. So it's totally possible. This is not a rocket science. So if you want to get a fifth wheel, don't let that deter you. And let's see, next thing. Is it possible to steer clear from purchasing a dually truck and still tow a fifth wheel? Yes. There are different weights of fifth wheels. The reason why I needed a dually wasn't because my rig was too heavy. I could have pulled my rig with a 3/4 ton. However, the weight of the pin weight, where it sits in the back of the truck, that was too heavy for a single rear wheel axle. Now, many people do it. People especially who don't travel regularly. I could have gotten away with it, wrongfully, but for traveling full time, it wasn't advisable. But there are fifth wheels that don't have a heavy pin weight, and it can go in a single rear wheel axle. And even you can even go down. You don't necessarily have to get a 1-ton rear wheel axle. You can get a 3/4 ton. So you have to look at the specs of the truck. Now, even specs from a 1998 to a 2008 truck are going of the same thing. They're going to be different. The older trucks just don't pull as much as the newer ones are made to. So you need to figure out what, if you really like a trailer, if you kind of got an idea of what trailer you're getting, then look at, is this too big of a trailer? And once you kind of figure that out, then you can look for trucks. Or if it sounds like you probably don't already have a truck. So if you already had one, then you would go the opposite way. Look for stuff that matches the specs of that truck. So it's a little harder when you don't have the truck already, because then you're playing with, well, I hope I can find one for sale that that will take these specs, or I know that these, this year to this year of this kind works. So it's a little harder, as I found, because I had to do the same thing. I didn't have a truck or a fifth wheel, and I started with the fifth wheel and planned to do a truck. Now, however, my situation happened where I got the deal together, but even then, that truck wasn't strong enough for the fifth wheel that the original owners used for it. So you do not have to get a dually. However, even if I got a travel trailer, traveling full-time, my lifestyle of a full-time traveling, I would have wanted to get a dual rear wheel, because if one of the wheels blows out, I'm not yanked to the side or who knows what else. So the dual rear wheels are safer in that aspect, even with just a travel trailer. In fact, maybe even more, especially with a travel trailer, but it is not necessary. You can find a smaller, lightweight fifth wheel and get probably a 3/4 ton versus a 1 ton, and be good to go with that. Thanks for all your valuable information and entertainment on your channel, Pippi. I really enjoy all of your videos. Thanks again, Helena, traveling nurse. You are absolutely welcome. Happy trails. Best of luck to all of you who are looking to find a truck, travel trailer, fifth wheel combo, and getting all that sorted. Thanks so much for watching.